Welcome back to the show. Rick Tittle with you, coast to coast, border to border, and around the world on the American Forces Radio Network. It's our pleasure to welcome to the show longtime journalist Willie Jefferson, written for the Houston Chronicle, the Orlando Sentinel, Albuquerque Journal, and others. He's here to talk about these next-gen consoles, which are right around the corner coming up here in November. Willie, let's just start off with this. I can hand you an Xbox Series X, or I can hand you a PS5, no questions asked. You can get in the car and drive away. Which one are you grabbing?
Hey, thank you so much, Rick, for having me on your show. I appreciate it. I would actually get the PS5 because I have the Xbox Series X or pre-ordered from Best Buy. That's the only reason.
Yeah. So the last time we had this new these next gen consoles was basically 2013, and we got a lot out of them, and we'll continue to get a lot out of the PS4 and obviously, but and the Xbox One. But when you think about the head-to-head battle of these two giants between Microsoft and Sony, what are some of the things that they're doing right and some of the things that they're not doing right?
Okay. I can tell you as far as with Sony, Sony was the first company that really came out with backwards compatibility, which allows gamers who have older games to be able to play their older games on a newer system with updated graphics, better processing power. And they did that all the way until the first iteration of the PlayStation 3, but then they stopped it. And also they stopped it with the PS4. But because Microsoft has, for the most part, ever since the Xbox 360, they had did backwards compatibility, then Sony felt pressured to go ahead and add that with the PlayStation 5, which makes it them and also the series, the Xbox Series, makes them very attractive units in case someone wants to upgrade, but they don't see any games that they really want, to have that confidence and know, hey, I have this huge backlog of older games that I can be able to play, and all the way possibly even up to 8K graphics.
It's funny, too, when you think about the PS5, and listen, I love both systems, but I would probably go PS5 just because I have way, way more PS4 games. And as you mentioned, the backwards compatibility, which is huge, which was not embraced in the past few consoles. But that PS5 DualSense controller with the new haptics and the audio features could be a game changer if developers embrace that, because as we know, even with the speaker that you have in the DualShock 4, how many games actually even utilize that stuff? It's almost like a forgotten technology. So do you think that's going to be something that'll be more a little hands-on?
Absolutely, especially with the PlayStation 5 and their DualSense. And I'm going to tell you, I'm really excited about that because just like you were saying, like if developers decide to implement it, especially with shooter titles, you can have, for instance, if you get hit, and let's say that depending on the part of your anatomy that the computer wants to enable, so like let's say, for instance, you're walking over gravel, then you may have to walk slower, and using the triggers, then it could also provide extra feedback, which could definitely make you feel more mentally in the game. And Microsoft does not, at this current time, does not have anything that could compete with that. So especially with launch titles coming out, for instance, Miles Morales, the new Spider-Man game on the PlayStation 5, that could be interesting because you could actually have tension. For instance, when he's swinging through the city, can have tension, for instance, or if he grabs an enemy and he wants to grab them lightly or he wants to add more force, using the DualSense could be a game changer. But once again, that goes to if developers decide to implement that strategy.
And the other thing too, I think Willie. By the way, we're speaking with Willie Jefferson about next gen consoles. The Xbox always seems to have a little more muscle when it comes to the technology, but I've never noticed it with my eyeballs. Like you can look on the paper and see that there's CPU 8 times Zen 2 cores at 3.8 gigahertz, while the PS5 is 3.5. You can see that their solid state drive is a little bit bigger with a terabyte on the Series X, 825 gigs on the PS5. But whether it's 12 teraflops or 10.28 teraflops, it's all going to run on 4K, a lot of games, 60 frames per second. That's something that I think would be a good selling point in a car. But when it comes to something like this, I've never noticed it with my eyeballs. How about you?
You know what? Actually, I have I definitely agree. I have a PlayStation 4 Pro and also have a launch PS4. Matter of fact, number 57 of all of them made. And also I have Xbox, Xbox One X, Xbox S, all of them. And yes, I can definitely tell a difference. But I think the biggest thing, as far as like with all everything on paper, it boils down to games. That with Microsoft making a huge investment as far as picking up ZeniMax and Bethesda Softworks, that is going to just, in the short term, it doesn't do a lot because they're still going to be supporting Doom Eternal, Fallout 76, and everything. But moving forward, that definitely could really make a person think, hey, do I need to spend $499 or $399, $499 for a PlayStation 5, or get a Series S or X, and then they see, oh wow, you know what? Like the new Fallout game is going to be exclusively on the Series, the Xbox Series consoles, or the new Doom one, or anything like that. That could definitely make people think, especially we're in a pandemic and people are limited as far as their funds. It could be something that people really need to consider.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, $100 is $100 in these times. And what do you think about the consideration, as you mentioned, the digital versions? Because each one's going to come out. You can put a shiny disc in. You're going to play the Blu-ray. Both of those are going to go for $500. But the digital version of the PS5, which means means no shiny discs, that's going to be $100 less. The Series S for the Xbox is going to be $200 less, but it is not as powerful as the Xbox Series X, which I think is something that a lot of people haven't considered, and it makes me lose interest in the one that's not as powerful. It's like if I'm going next gen, I want to go next gen, but it is 200 less than the original. It's interesting the way Microsoft and Sony are approaching this differently when they usually kind of do the same thing. What do you think about that?
You know what? When they do the same thing, I actually like that because who wins in the end? The consumers. But just like what you were saying, Rick, what I really did not, I understand why Microsoft did it, but it's good because, yes, Series S is $299. However, you only have 512 gigabytes of usable space. All you have to do is look at Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It is around, I think, 125, 130 gigabytes. If you think about that, all it takes 2, maybe 3 games, and your hard drive is filled up.
Right.
With the PlayStation 5, it's 825 gigabytes. Figure probably about 750, maybe 775 gigabytes of space, which allows you, hey, and it's also faster than the Microsoft SSDs. Now, there was a report about the new Devil May Cry remastered, and I can tell you right now, that the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5s are going to also include ray tracing with that. However, on the Series S, there will be no ray tracing with that particular title. That's just the first one that we've heard about, and I don't know if other developers are going to follow suit with that. And it's showing me clearly that the Series S may be holding back some titles from just being just absolutely gangbusters graphically, CPU powerhouses that may have to be scaled back so that they can play or run smoothly on the Series S.
Right. And then finally, something that the Xbox didn't have that the PS4 did was that share button. And they'll have that now on Microsoft, and they'll also, apparently on the dashboard of both of these new next-gen, how you save screenshots and video. For me, my PS5, I have to get out of my game, go back and edit it. All that's going to be right there on the dashboard. And I guess that's just part of the next thing that makes everything a lot shorter, and you can rejoin games without having to save them. There'll be a lot more shortcuts, I understand, Willie.
Because of the power of the SSD. And I'm going to tell you, Sony actually has, I saw a report that where whenever you earn a trophy, it will actually save part of that video so that you can immediately share that progress and say, hey, you know what? I got 30 headshots within 60 seconds. Boom, here's my video. And I'm going to tell you, especially being locked down in a pandemic, that's going to be huge to be able to just see something, not have to worry about trying to edit it, get it just right. You could just immediately share it on social media or wherever the PlayStation 5 is going to share it. So that's going to be huge. I really believe that's going to be huge. So
that's Willie Jefferson. Where can we find you social media-wise and read you?
Okay, definitely. You can go to Houstongamer.com. That's going to take you right to my YouTube page. And also, you can hit me up on Twitter at you can just put at HoustonGamer. And I would love to hear from you. And definitely, I want you to follow me, and I do my best to follow back. And just want to thank you so much for allowing me to talk about next-gen consoles here on your show. I really appreciate it.
There he is, the Houston Gamer, Willie Jefferson. Thanks for your time, buddy. We will take a quick break, and we will come on back on Sports Byline.